Hello, hustlers and entrepreneurs. It's me, Izu. And now that we're firmly in 2026, I just want to share my thoughts on some of the top trends to watch out for in 2026 as an entrepreneur or a business person. And my top trend for 2026, if you didn't know, I was already going to say this, is Africa. Africa is a large continent with about 1.9 billion people. And so we're seeing a large population coming through. In fact, reports show that I think by the year 2040, 1 in 4 of the global workforce will be African. And it's a very youthful population. I think the average age is about 28 or 29. So you have a young population coming up. You're going to be 1 in 4. Think about the manpower, think about the brain power, think about the innovation that's coming out of Africa. And in fact, we've already started to see a lot of this come through. So, in tech and digital transformation, we've seen tech startups, local tech startups from West Africa to East Africa raise billions and billions of dollars in funding in order to solve local problems with local solutions, especially in that tech space in FinServe. We've seen, like, if you go to somewhere like Kenya, you have M-Pesa, which means they pay each other and transfer money through their mobile phones, and it's done on the spot. Basically a cashless society. I was in Nigeria just over the Christmas period, and I couldn't pay with anything with my bank cards. It's all done on mobile apps like OPay, and people are able to transfer. It solves a lot of problems for them because, especially in the retail businesses, it means that money goes straight into the accounts of the businesses. And so we're seeing this rise in tech. Lagos is kind of one of the biggest hubs when it comes to startups and techs, and we've actually seen that kind of go above the world average when it comes to startups. Another industry to look at is the food industry, right? The F&B industry. If you've not heard of jollof rice or pounded yam or fufu and egusi soup, I don't know where you've been, because from the West to South Korea, I see like people in South Korea doing their reviews on egusi soup. And why is this important? It's important because these are some of the signs that show, the continent is rising from a food perspective. We saw the same with Chinese food. We saw the same with Indian food. And this led to an array of restaurants across the world with Indian foods and Chinese foods. A lot of you, like when I was growing up, you probably know about the buffets you get in Chinese, all you can eat. So these kind of became very popular, and we're seeing the same happen with Africa now. African food is becoming very acceptable, is becoming very popular. People all over the world are tasting it. So what does this lead to? It leads to potentially more of an impact from agriculture to supply the foodstuff for these recipes. It leads to more restaurants. So if you're in that food space, you need to be thinking about African foods. Also, another thing to consider is the alcohol industry in Africa. That's really growing with a lot of homegrown, homemade whiskeys and gins being made and actually getting a claim on the international market. So beverages like Pedro's Ogogoro, Afro Spirit from Ghana, and Native Tea from Port Harcourt, Nigeria, which is a country whiskey brand which I absolutely love. I'm very biased because it's done by my family, but it's amazing. If you haven't tried it out, go look out for it. But these things are opening up industries. They're opening up for agriculture. They're creating jobs. Um, so that's an industry that shouldn't be slept on. Another industry to look out for is the culture and the music. It's again just the same way we've seen hip hop and other music genres take rise. We've seen Afro beats take center stage now. I think it's been dominating for the last 10 years. Afrobeats musicians are being awarded Grammy Awards. So this is, it's a great space to be. It brings popularity to the industry. And if you're in the music industry, consider working with Afrobeat talent. We also see the content creator economy in Africa taking off. These young people creating skits, creating content, and that economy is valued at something like $30 billion. And we started to see large both local and international brands work with these content creators. So again, if you're looking to tap into that content creator economy, you should be looking at Africa. And then we talk about fashion. Fashion is really kicking off. You have young fashion brands coming up, young fashion houses. We know some of the big brands have sort of taken ideas from Africa in the past, but we're now seeing these young fashion designers kind of reclaim it, and they're making it sustainable. So they're using local materials to create kind of fashion pieces, iconic pieces that have heritage but still modernize them. And you have designers like, I hope I'm not pronouncing their name wrong, or forgive me if I am, but you have, Imane Ayisi, Kenneth Ize, Sarah Diouf, also blending heritage and sustainability. So again, if you're someone's into fashion, you're into import and exporting of clothes, check out the fashion industry in Africa. Lagos Fashion Week is a good place to start. It's kind of internationally acclaimed at this stage. And then another industry which is like, it's key to life, if you ask me, is the agriculture industry, the agri-tech industry. 60% of Africa's land is arable, which means it's farmable. We have international communities and other countries actually coming and buying land in Africa to farm to feed their own countries because the land is great for farming. So, if you're into agricultural food imports, potentially consider coming into the continent and investing in mechanized farming, investing in sort of sustainable farming, rather than some of these things that we're seeing about lab-grown foods and things like that that just don't benefit us. The food stuff that comes out of the soil is healthy. It's been if you ask me, Africa's been the bread basket to the world for decades, if not centuries. So why not invest more into these industries in these areas and grow them and get the financial benefits of it? And finally, the another industry to look out for, which is kind of one of my favorites industries to invest in, is real estate. From West Africa to East Africa, real estate in Africa is really kicking off, especially short-term lets in Africa. We've seen the brand of Dirty December in West Africa really attract the diaspora back, as well as foreign tourists. And these people are actually coming back and investing in real estate because they see the potential of having an Airbnb. In East Africa, we see, there's always been high tourist attraction in East Africa, with the safaris, with the ocean, the African coast. Again, I was in Nairobi, I think summer of last year, and the place was springing up with high-rise buildings, high-rise apartments, because the Chinese moved in there and they're building these things and they're selling it off plan. And anything that the Chinese touch these days turns to gold. So we've started to see this industry really kick off, and it's still cheaper to get into these industries than you would if you were buying property in some more mature markets. And the returns on investment are quite high, even from commercial real estate as well. So to recap, Africa is not just rising, it's accelerating. And for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we expect to continue to see this rise. So you should get in on the ground floor now, choose your industry, pick the one that you think you can make a contribution to, and then let's run with it. And good luck in 2026. You'll see more of me.